never waste a good crisis. And when it comes to the economic crisis, don't waste it when it can have a very positive impact.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
The way we're going to win over the long term is not just militarily. We've got to win over hearts and minds. And what that means is we've got to invest in countries that have no educational infrastructure and have no means for young people to get ahead. We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Stay tuned for politics and religion.
Huge breaking story coming today from the Senate. ClimateGate meets the law. Senator Inhofe to ask for the investigation into all of the misinformation that has been perpetrated upon the nation through the people that are advocating climate change. Senator James Inhofe, Republican from Oklahoma, today asked the Obama administration to investigate what he called the greatest scientific scandal of our generation. The actions of climate scientists revealed by ClimateGate files and the subsequent admissions by the editors of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change Fourth Assessment Report. Senator Inhofe also called for former Vice President Al Gore to be called back to the Senate to testify. In Gore's science fiction movie, that's what Inhofe calls it, every assertion has been rebutted, Inhofe said. He believes Vice President Gore should defend himself and his movie before Congress. Just prior to a hearing at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Senator Inhofe released a minority staff report from the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee, of which he is a ranking member. Senator Inhofe is asking the Department of Justice to investigate whether there has been research misconduct or criminal actions by the scientists involved, including Dr. Michael Mann of Pennsylvania State University and Dr. James Hansen of Columbia University and the NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're talking about striking at the head of the snake here. We're talking about Senator Inhofe accusing the foremost global warming scientist in the world of criminal activity and also accusing many other key participants of being complicit in that criminal activity. The article goes on to say the IPCC AR4 report, which was released in 2007, was named by Environmental Protection Agency head Lisa Jackson as one of the major sources of scientific support for the agency's endangerment finding, the first step towards allowing the EPA to regulate carbon dioxide as a pollutant. Now, let's make sure we all understand here. President Obama knows he cannot get cap-and-trade legislation through the Congress right now. So he decides to bypass Congress and rule by czar. Instead, he decides to just have the EPA make a finding that global warming and the release of carbon dioxide is endangering the health of Americans. Therefore, because it's endangering the health of Americans, the Environmental Protection Agency is now asserting its power to control CO2 emissions. Now then, he is saying that all of those things, those findings were based on the IPCC AR4 report, which now is being largely disputed by the very people that delivered it. Since the ClimateGate files were released, the IPCC has been forced to retract a number of specific conclusions, such as a prediction that Himalayan glaciers would disappear by 2035, and has been forced to confirm that the report was based in large part on reports from environmental activist groups instead of peer-reviewed scientific literature. Did you get that? Most of these facts were supplied by activist groups, not by scientists, and yet they were released as a scientific report. Dr. Murari Lai, an editor of the IPCC AR4 report, admitted to the London Daily Mail that he had known the 2035 date for the melting of the Himalayan glaciers was false, but was included in the report anyway, purely to put political pressure on world leaders. World leaders went to Copenhagen thinking that the Himalayan glaciers were melting by 2035. Now then we're told, well, if they ever do melt, it's 300, 400, 500 years away. So total falsehoods, knowing falsehoods, such words as hide the decline, playing a trick in order to cover up the decline in temperatures. I mean, this is on and on and on. Senator Inhofe said it's time for an investigation. Will he get it from the Obama administration? Probably not.
Is there a